All right, good morning and welcome everybody on a beautiful Christmas Eve morning. I am Cade Archibald. Uh, I'll be host and moderator today on the Health Transformation Your Healthy Self podcast. So excited to be here with everybody. And Merry Christmas. Hopefully everyone's kind of relaxed, not too stressed out, and ready for the holidays. So I sported my wonderful ugly sweater that I knitted myself. It's got little pizzas on here. They're actually supposed to be Christmas trees, but everyone thinks it's pepperoni pizza.
It looks like pizza with a little
They
gold
got,
star.
got little tassels. But Reagan didn't get the memo quite soon enough.
No, I feel a little left out. It could have really upped my game.
Well, and so today got some really cool stuff, want to hear kind of what you guys are doing for the holidays. Type that into the chat box as well. I think today we kind of just have a surprise topic.
Yeah, it's more than a surprise topic. We actually we pushed out a little bit of just a guess. So can anyone guess what we're talking about today? And put it out there, and maybe I'll share with you what it was if some of you are permanently registered, but did anyone get a chance to guess? So this is the description that Anne came up with. One simple, enjoyable secret to increasing longevity, skin tone, beautifying inside and out. And we're going to talk about putting on muscle and recovery. And the description, we won't reveal this, but this is opposite of our cold therapy. So we're going to be talking about heat therapy.
Yeah. It's nice to get some heat when it's a little bit chilly outside anyways.
I think it's appropriate. When I talk about cold showers and ice baths right now, for some reason, people just kind of they look away. They don't want
to. we start losing viewers. That's
yeah, people
sure.
just drop off. They're like, no,
like, no thanks.
I'm like, it's 12 degrees outside. What's the big deal?
Exactly. Well, it's not that cold.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk all about heat and heat shock proteins and what it can do for your body, and why maybe some sauna practices is really good. We're going to share some studies. I'll share with you the Finnish study that Finnish is as in the country Finland, but the Finnish study where they followed 2,000 men for over 20 years, and they found that the men who use saunas actually outlived the men who didn't. The one who used the saunas 4 to 5 times a week had the longest lifespan of men. So might be some benefits for kicking back. So if you guys want, get in some heat. I'm going to show you guys a little show and tell before we start.
Ooh, what is this?
I've got a couple cool contraptions when it comes to heat. So Cade, you got the sun in St. George. We're up here in the northern part of the state. So I have this little ultraviolet blanket that my wife got me. I could just nestle up in there. I plug it in, and what happens is I get this nice thermogenic effect. I have a Ofuro tub, the wood tub, and Cade's been in that many times.
Oh yeah.
And get heated up that way. And then I also have a bathtub. So there's some really cool ways that you can increase your body's heat. And everyone's probably saying, well, why would we want to do that? And that's what we're going to uncover today. So what the goal is for you to understand that there's all these great ways that you can maximize your energy levels, maximize the way your body recovers from exercise. And you can do that just through some simple heat exposure. So
killer.
Sound good, everyone? And maybe we can, since it's Christmas time, we can just express gratitude to all of you. It's actually Christmas Eve, which is really cool. So I feel like we should do some kind of, maybe you could sing us a Christmas carol, Cade, in your ugly sweater. Let's to kick it off.
I've been practicing, but We definitely want Anne to do the singing, so we'll have to bring
No,
her on.
I'm okay with you doing it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. All right, we're definitely gonna lose some viewers today then.
Got what, frog in your throat or what? Yeah, a little bit. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's jump in. So there's some cool things about heat. So I created a cool little, just kind of thinking about things this morning. And let's talk about heat exposure, why it's so good for you. So number one, hormesis. So Cade, think about, the term hormesis is like, oh, that's a weird word. But really it means, well, what do you think of when I say hormesis? Maybe I shouldn't ask you that, but be careful.
Keep it PG. No, hormesis. What it means to me is like getting out of your homeostasis state, or like just having a little bit of uncomfortability, if that's
Yeah,
even a word.
I would probably use discomfort, but we could call it uncomfortability. It's just a lot harder to say, but so yeah, the hormetic responses, yeah, just like Kate said, when you put a little stress on your body, what happens is our bodies are really resilient and they fight back. And so if you think about some of the best vegetables are grown in cold climates where the soil doesn't get too cold where it destroys them. Like we did not want our potatoes to get frozen. That was deadly. But if you get enough cold, then what you get is a better flavor in the fruit. Like you think of grapes, for wine, you're going to get some really robust tannins and flavors from some of the hormetic activity. Same thing in our cells. The little amounts of stress you put on your cells can actually lead to massive increase in overall vitality. So it's kind of weird, isn't it? You think, oh, I should just spend my days relaxing, but actually you're going to die quicker if you just hang out on your couch
Yeah,
in a Christmas.
gotta create some resistance, because that's the only way you grow. I think that, mentally, physically, like all the aspects of life, there has to be a little bit of resistance and push to really get to the next level in whether it's health or whatever it is in life.
Yeah, it's
It's like that's got to be a natural law somewhere, right?
well, if it's
I
not,
guess
then
gravity.
we're gonna call it's I think it's as real as gravity. It's like there's got to be, there's some kind of pull. If you're not finding yourself in some discomfort every day or uncomfortable ability, as Cade likes to call it, then what you're going to have happen is you're not going to be setting high enough goals, and you're not going to be progressing in the way you can. So heat is one of those ways. So what happens when you get exposed to heat? So what I want you guys to do is take yourself back to the last time you had an incredible experience in heat, where you're just like, oh man, I was in the sauna. I must have sweat 20 gallons of fluid out of my body. And so the hottest place I've ever been is the Russian banyas. And Archimedes Med Spa, I think is what they call Archimedes Banya is what it's called in San Francisco. Kate and I
Oh
used to
yeah.
actually have our Go Wellness, our event there. They have this teaching center above it. And so we did a few Go Wellness events there. And how hot was
That
that, Cade?
that was some really good times. Oh man, it was. I don't remember how hot the sauna got. I just remember it felt like 200 plus degrees.
It was, yes. If you see it goes up to 220. I've been in there when it's 220, and it's
Yeah.
like literally
Have
you
to have
are
like a little cap because it feels like the ends of your ears are gonna burn off.
it's no different than being out feeding cattle in Idaho at 7 in the morning when it's 20 below and the wind's blowing, where it feels like your nose is going to burn
That
off and anything
frostbite.
exposed. Yeah. And that's what it feels like when you're in that extreme of heat. It's really interesting. But in the Russian banya, the cool thing is when you go in there, you have a hat, so that keeps your head from just feeling like it's baking. And then suddenly you just go into this deep sweat. And after about 3 or 4 minutes, your body just suddenly relaxes. And then after about 5 minutes, you're like, I need to get out of here. I'm going to feel like I'm going to pass out. And so it's very extreme heat. And then you go into cold. And so you get that shock of cold, and they run their water just around 40 degrees there. And so for any of you who live near San Francisco, check out the Archimedes Banya. It's in a weird part of town, and you're going to be sketched out as you drive through there because it's like industrial, but then there's this gorgeous spa facility, and you can go get some heat shock proteins turned on. So you got something?
Yeah, and that uh, no,
Oh,
I was just gonna say that hot and cold experience is like just it feels so cool.
it's
So you
amazing.
basically like you go into kind of a hot tub, so you get kind of warmed up, and then you get in the sauna, and you can do steam then sauna, and you're just sweating like crazy. And then when you get in that cold, like when you get out, it just feels you're just like tingly. I don't know. It's like an adrenaline rush for me. I love it.
Um, oh, it feels really good. Every time I travel, I find a place where I can get some heat exposure and cold. It's a great way of resetting your circadian rhythms. And so if you think about these heat shock proteins, even when we exercise, we're basically inducing a fever, right? So your body starts building up its temperature, and then that elicits these heat shock proteins. So some of the other ways, environmental stress can activate these heat shock proteins, certain metal toxicities, reactive oxidation species, amino acids, certain toxins, even hypoxic conditions. So if you're doing kind of like Wim Hof breathing, that can activate some of the heat shock proteins. But what you get on the other side of that is like if you're lifting weights, I was lifting weights today, and I was listening to a couple of really cool videos on heat shock proteins. Rhonda Patrick is one of those, and I've got some notes from her. Ben Greenfield's another one. But there's just some really cool research on hypertrophy. So one of the things you're trying to do when you're lifting weights is you're overloading your muscles, and so you're basically breaking down the old muscle fibers so that hormetic response creates a bigger muscle gains for you. And so as you're doing that, you're activating heat shock proteins. And then what happens at the other end is you start getting cellular protection. And so this is one of the key importance of the cellular protection, because these heat shock proteins, the way they protect the cells is they keep the cells from going into kind of a rogue condition. So heat shock proteins go right into the DNA and into the nucleus of the cell, and they help clean up any damage, any material that's damaged to that DNA. If you have too much exposure to heat and have heat exhaustion or heat stroke, which does not feel good, then you've taken it too far. So just like with the workout, if I put 400 pounds on my back and tried to squat it, it's going to crush me. If Cade put 400 pounds on his back, I bet you he could squat it. But so he's got a different hormetic response. So just because someone can hang out in the sauna for 30 minutes and you can't, don't feel bad. Do you think you could squat 400 pounds still?
I haven't squat that much weight for a really long time, so I don't know. It's been a couple years since I put on that much weight.
I bet if you wore
It,
that
it
sweater,
just
Cade.
this sweater and some chaps, I think I could get it done.
Shaps, good. Just make sure you have your underwear on under those shaps, buddy.
Yeah, yes.
All right. So heat shock protein. So one of the things they do is they protect the protein structure. So they protect the RNA in your body so you can get clear messages in your body. Heat shock proteins, what they do is they improve protein expression. They reduce aggregation and toxicity. So they allow your body to remove the proteins that are no longer functional. And these proteins, remember, these are some of your peptide molecules. So if you're doing some, like, let's say you're using the CJC 1295 with ipamorelin, well, a great way to boost that IGF-1 response and that growth hormone response is jump in the sauna. For those of you who are doing thymosin alpha-1 and you're using that to boost your immune system, well, a great way to add just a little bit more boost is to jump in the sauna or get some kind of heat exposure. The infrared lights that, like, I've got my blanket here. Those are great ways of getting some nice heat therapy.
It, So if let's say, for most people out there, maybe they don't have access to a sauna, or just want to stay in their house. If you do your bath, really hot, what would be the ideal time to spend in the hot bath?
Well, to really get the benefits of the heat shock proteins, you want your bath to be at least 104 degrees. That's, one of the things they're finding is, but the longer you're in there, the more you're going to sweat. So 20 minutes is max in a hot bath or even a hot tub before you go and do altering. But that's where it's really nice when you're in 220 degrees. It's you're five
Yeah.
minutes and those heat shock proteins are manifested. Your body's going into overload of protection, trying to cool itself down. And the great thing about it is when you do the sauna or when you do even cold exposure, these extremes on either end, when you are outside, you don't notice it as much and you actually feel better. And you can work out in heat. There's workout facilities here in Salt Lake that you can actually go into a sauna and work out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I bet you your workout's a lot shorter that way.
They still do about 45 minutes, which I think is,
Whoa.
yeah, you're pushing it because I've done some of the Bikram yoga and it gets 101, 102 in there, 103. Well, you know how it is too, Cade. I mean, even at Be Love or Be Hot.
Yeah, be hot. Yes, when Sierra was teaching Pilates over there, her classes were just insane because you're in like 100+ degree room and then sweating for 45 minutes straight. And by the end of that, you got like misty eyes, all blurry,
Yeah.
all lightheaded, toppling out of there. Yeah, it's a little much.
Yeah, and that's when you can get a little bit of heat exhaustion if you're not careful and really hard to stay hydrated. So this is where whenever you do heat therapy, there's a couple little hacks. So one is you want to mineralize your body and hydrate your body before you jump in. The other thing you can do is you can do some activated charcoal right before you go in, and that activated charcoal will bind up with some of the toxins that are being released from your tissue. So just and some glutathione, but heat shock protein actually causes more aggregation of glutathione in your cells. So
Nice. So to mineralize your water, adding electrolytes or minerals and electrolytes to your water. So drink that before, probably even during and after.
exactly, yeah. So you can use like the trace mineral blend we have it at the clinics. You can use the Noom tablets. They do have a little bit of sugar, but it's like 2 grams. And then you can also just put in sea salt and lemon juice and maybe some unsweetened cranberry juice, apple cider vinegar. That's going to be a great way of mineralizing your body and actually getting the hydration. If you're just drinking straight water, that's fine. It's better than not, but sometimes that just pushes things through. And so you almost become more dehydrated by the end.
Yeah, it's almost like you're just like pouring water through a screen and it just goes straight through as opposed to having some substance to it. It'll kind of stick and keep your body hydrated. Is that a good analogy?
That is a great analogy. Yes. Yeah, that's perfect. So heat therapy with muscle function, it increases hypertrophy, which means that puts a burden on your muscles where they start to break down. So you start increasing muscle mass. It increases strength. And you guys know just by putting on 7 pounds of muscle, if any of you are insulin resistant or diabetic, just by putting on 7 pounds of muscle, you can absolutely regulate that insulin resistance. Heat therapy works at improving the glycemic control and insulin sensitivity. And I'm going to share with you a couple studies here, but it also helps with cerebral blood flow. So it helps with flow mediated dilation. It decreases arterial stiffness, which is also known as sarcopenia. And it improves capillarization and blood pressure. So one of the things I'll be trying is we have a brand new peptide, and it's called sarcotropin. And it was just went through all of the FDA criteria to become a medical food. And this sarcotropin will be carrying it at the clinics. It should be there in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by January 3rd. The sarcotropin is one of the things I'll be using with heat therapy because it has ipamorelin in it, which is a somatostatin inhibitor, which means you get better growth hormone pulsation. It also has the ability to increase your IGF-1 by 16% after use. You'll have a decrease in body fat by 5% in the studies. This is what it shows. And you have an increase in overall energy. So it's something I'll be trying with the heat therapy because it's intended to decrease the arterial stiffness. It's got a few other things in there that are really exciting. So you guys will be hearing more about that. So, but I'm going to save that because it's down the line in our next couple of shows. So pretty interesting though for cerebral blood flow.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, going to help with blood pressure. So here's some things. Here's some reasons why getting in that crazy banya, or if you go to the Korean spa, I love the Korean spas as well, because especially when you go, they have super hot, dry sauna, then they have the hot water. And then you also have those, there's like, they look like little igloos or the little rooms where you can go and get really heated up. So it was a couple Christmases ago. We took the kids to LA, and one of the major activities we did every day for about a week is we'd go to the Wii Spa in the morning. There's a great gym there. So we'd work out and then we'd go in the spa and spend about an hour in the spa, and we'd leave there by 10 o'clock all fresh. And then we just made the day so much better. And so, I like, if I'm traveling somewhere, I want to start my day off feeling really amazing. So I get some exercise in, I find a spa. Some people are like, oh, let's go at night when we can relax. But I'm like, well, why would you want to wait? And then you just go to sleep after that. I want to feel the benefits all day.
I want to enjoy those benefits.
Yes. Have I taken you to the Wii Spa-cade in LA? It's like downtown LA by Koreatown.
Yeah.
Super nice. That's place
a nice facility.
That's right. We've been there. We went there, I think the first time was when we were at the Bulletproof conference about 5 or 6, maybe 7 years ago, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's and that's where upstairs you got like that patio where you like, and it's 24 hours, right? That's
24 hours.
Like if you're looking for a simple hotel, like people I think go there and
yeah, I think it's an extra $10 if you want to spend the night there. And there are people who just go, they hunker down and sleep. So it's cheaper. It's cheaper than a hotel room.
I imagine right now it's probably not open. That seems like
probably not in LA. Yeah, they're like, we're only allow one guest at a time in this 30,000-foot facility.
They'd be constantly sanitizing every square inch.
It's going to be hard to mask up when you got the heat going.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine being in a sauna with a mask on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, your face is already so hot when you wear those things. It would just like, yeah. All right.
Maybe the mask is a form of hormesis?
We could look at the mask as a form of hormesis. It might be less irritating if you guys just kind of think of it that way.
There we go. All right.
Hey, yeah, we should get masks that said inducing hormesis.
There we go.
Yeah, I think that's great. All right. So heat, it's good for your liver. It helps with hepatic steatosis. I mispronounced that, but when your liver starts to get fatty and it basically starts to get hardened, this is a stage before cirrhosis. So what they found is heat exposure. There's a heat shock protein 72 that actually helps break up fatty liver and break up that scar tissue that builds up in the liver and the ducts when they get all plugged up. Heat shock protein helps open that up, which is really interesting because you go to a Russian banya and they serve alcohol there, and it's very easy to get a buzz off alcohol when you're doing the sauna because it breaks open your liver. And so you
do some detox.
Yes. The heat shock protein helps the heart, the cardiovascular function. The heat shock protein helps you burn fat more efficiently. It helps the brain function. It helps with digestion. It helps with stem cell proliferation. It helps with the pancreas and helps with the oxidative stress. It also decreases NF. So that's your one of the NF kappa beta. That's one of your major inflammatory pathways. And so it turns that off. The heat shock protein 72, it helps with angiogenesis. It helps with nitric oxide production. It stimulates the AMPK pathway and SIRT1 pathway. It also stimulates the mTOR pathway because it helps promote growth. So part of it inhibits mTOR initially, and then it turns mTOR on. And so it also helps with vasodilation in your muscles. It increases glucose uptake. It helps with GLUT4 transportation. It's a great way for you to induce cytochrome oxidase activity so that you can detoxify the muscles faster and you can build them quicker with heats. So pretty exciting, right, Cade?
Yeah, really exciting stuff. So, I know a lot of times, like with saunas, spas, hot tubs, things like that,
Mhm.
there's always like a warning label that's, if you have cardiovascular disease, consult your doctor, things like that.
Yeah.
What are some of the reasons behind that, or what's um, the 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 warning that we gotta have people look out for if you're experiencing anything? Is there an instance where I'm sure everyone can have pieces of this, but starting off in smaller chunks is probably the smartest way to go about it if you're just starting to do something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things, and many of you have had me listen to your pulse and give you a Chinese medical diagnosis. So if you have too much heat in your body, it can start to agitate your heart. And so one of the reasons why I said, hey, talk to your doctor before you jump in this. It's not good for kids. It's, and you'll find that in gyms too. But one of the things you really want to watch out for is you can literally you can die from too much heat. It's a real serious condition. I mean, I remember doing a sweat lodge, and that was the most incredible heat that I've ever had. And I thought I was going to die. And there people actually have died in sweat lodges. I did my sweat lodge, I believe it was 2008. And unfortunately, I did it the day after I ran a half marathon. So my
Ooh.
body was already depleted. And the timing just, I got invited and it was like I was really excited to do it. And in the sweat lodge, you go through 4 different cycles. So you go through the birth cycle and kind of that adolescent stage where you're coming into the earth and you're being greeted by Mother Earth. And then you go through the toddler stage into adolescence, and then the rite of passage into kind of adulthood, and then you go through kind of the death process. And about 3/4 of the way through, I was just out. I mean, I was having a hard time sitting up. They had drums going in there. They had the hot coal. It was pitch black. So a little bit of I'm a little bit claustrophobic, well, a lot claustrophobic. And so that started to kick in. But yeah, that was the most intense experience I've ever had. And so if I was smarter, because it took me about a week to recover from, I thought I would recover quicker from that half marathon, but my body was so depleted that it just pushed it too hard. So one of the things you really have to watch out for is listen to your pulse. And if your pulse is irregular in any way, you can't tolerate more than about 10 minutes of time in your sauna, because I know some of you have saunas who are on this, and we've talked about it. And I love the fact that you jump in the sauna. It's so good for you. But whenever I say, limit your amount of time in the sauna, it's because I feel a thready or an intermittent pulse. And if you have sensitive fingers, just listen to your pulse right now. And if it's like nice and smooth, boom, 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 you'll know to stay out of it. I knew when I listened to my pulse before I got into that sweat lodge, I said, I'm screwed because it wasn't good, but I'd already committed to it, and there's like, they got the ceremony and you got the shamans there, and I can't remember what they call them, not a chief, but like, the medicine man, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had all these cool rituals and it was such an amazing experience, but physically I just was not in the best place.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I, I think over time, like I've noticed with cold exposure or heat exposure, it's just like weightlifting or things like that. Like your tolerance does increase with time. And so, if you're just getting into this, don't go into 220-degree sauna and try to sit in there for 30 minutes, or like even 5 or 10 minutes. Like that's super intense. So, and some of you are like, there's no way I could do that, but it's amazing how your body can adapt. And I think this is just a um, the process of that resistance and growth is so beautiful, because you can just start at a small level and start increasing the resistance over time, and your body adapts to that, and that's how it grows.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, best advice we can give you. And once again, just as a disclaimer, do not go and jump into some crazy Russian banya. And talk to us first, because yeah, we're sharing some very extreme versions of heat. Even the sweat lodges, make sure you're doing it appropriately. You're going in very hydrated. That Please don't run a half marathon and then jump in a sweat lodge. I did happen to get my fastest time the day before, though. I mean, I was running 6-minute miles, so it was
Smoking.
it was from Sundance down into Provo, so it was downhill. So it was like, man, that's simple. I'll just let gravity do the work. But
Nice.
yeah. So anyway, okay. Heat and muscle building. So here's from thebestsauna.com. They have this really cool infographic. What they find is sauna use can increase your heat shock proteins by up to 16 times a base level. Now, remember, heat shock proteins, they keep the protein sending the right message. They clean up the DNA. They're really one of the most important parts of heat. They increase protein synthesis, so you get just better structures in your body, better cellular material. Growth hormones, sauna use can increase growth hormone levels by 5 times. That's impressive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Hey, had a question come in from Diana. I think it's a great one. And so she asked, is going into an infrared sauna getting really hot and then get into a cold shower? Do you only do it once, or do you get back into the sauna shower, do cycles several
Yeah.
times? Is once enough? Like what's the ideal, and when does the benefit wear off? Because I love doing the cycles. That's like
Right.
I love
That,
the
that's
cycles.
that's that's an awesome question, Diane. And Diane's up in Montana, so she could probably tolerate some cold, I'd imagine. And so I like to, if you have the time, I love it when I get to like that third or fourth cycle. Suddenly, like, you just get euphoric. And so that's when it becomes addictive. And that's when my family were like, let's go back to the spa, or anywhere, anytime Cade and I are traveling for work, everyone's going out to the bar. We're like, we're going to the Korean spa. We're like little nerds in there. Like, you can't talk. You're just like, let your body, because we're just addicted to that feeling. So yeah, I think that's Diane, I would just say 3-4 times. How many cycles do you like, Cade?
It's like that 3 to 4 times. That's when you really experience more euphoria. It feels amazing, and so
And
that's kind of my sweet spot that I like. I'm just curious, that is there additional benefit to, like, to get to that point? Is that where like you're at your maximum benefit? If you go further, is there diminishing returns?
yeah, so what happens, and this is very common, happens to me all the time, is if you overstimulate your body. So if you have methylation issues, so if you have the some of the genetics are misfolded, so you don't have the ability to get rid of toxins easy, then remember, this is like putting yourself through an exercise regime. And so you'll find that you don't sleep well that night. And that's when you've overdone it, because what the heat shock proteins do is they increase your parasympathetic nervous response. But if you keep pushing it, because your body goes into the sympathetic it's a stress, remember? So you're putting your body under stress. But if you keep doing the cycles too long, then you overdo it and you short circuit your nervous system. And then the sympathetic nervous system is dominant and you can't sleep that night. So the biggest indication if you've overdone it is when you can't sleep,
Yep.
or when you're just so tired you can't stay awake. So those two. If you happen to pass out, I'd probably say you overdid it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I first got created the cold freezer. the
Yeah.
cold plunge. And the first night I got in that, I didn't do any heat. It was just all cold. And I stayed in there. I did like in and out probably 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And I did not sleep good at all that night. I was freezing cold.
Hmm.
Like my body could not warm back up. And that's where I think it's not like the hot cold. It's super therapeutic to me. But but yeah, I think that's an example where I definitely overdid it. It was not good sleep. I was like I felt like I was like sleeping in the Arctic. I was camping with no blankets.
Yeah. Well, and if that happens again, then you got to run a warm bath and go jump in. Because it's a lot of work to get your core temperature up. And Cade's freezer, I mean, he's chiseling ice to get into that thing. It's crazy.
Right now it's hard to manage because the temperatures are dropping, and so it's like
Oh,
the bottom's got a big block of ice on it.
that thing's awesome. All right. So some other benefits. Insulin sensitivity. Tests demonstrate a proven insulin resensitization after sauna. So that's a long, fancy way of saying your body accepts sugar into the cell from insulin after you have sauna use. So you get better transportation of glucose, better utilization of energy. So that's really important, because if you're pre-diabetic, or if you get hangry, get in the sauna. Saunas can increase endurance by 32%. So some of the research that they've done, they've found that there's an increased blood plasma level, and that increase allows your body to have greater levels of endurance, which is a great reason why when you're doing Pilates, one of the things that can happen is you can push yourself just a little bit harder, or even when you're doing yoga and you're in heat, as long as it's not too extreme, you have better endurance. So very interesting. The final thing they have here is the recovery aids. So what they found is it's shown to slow muscle atrophy during disuse by up to 32%. So if you're someone who's in a rehabilitation stage, like maybe we just did some stem cell treatments for you, and you're like, man, I got to let my shoulder rest, and my knees. Well, getting in the sauna actually will keep your muscles from decaying. So that atrophy is when you don't work out, and then your muscles, just all that work you've done, they go away. Well, just staying in the sauna will keep your muscles nice and fit. So even when you can't work out.
That's awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a little mini exercise.
Yes. Yeah, so there's a couple of really cool peptides that you can couple with this. So if you think about it, we talked about the, increasing growth hormone. So if you're using IGF-1, what you get in the sauna is with the IGF-1, when you're doing the peptides, you're having this like a 3 times greater spike with just IGF-1. If you add the ipamorelin, the CJC1295, this is where you have at least a 7 times greater pulsation of growth hormone. And that means the somatostatin is removed for longer from your pituitary. So your body goes into this massive growth cycle, which is really good. And then it turns off. This is not growth hormone where there's no negative feedback. So it does turn off, so that you mitigate your risks of developing cancer and other things like that. But the beautiful thing is, if you add some IGF-1 in with your heat exposure, you're going to have even better benefits. So don't do it at the same time. So if you're doing heat exposure like saunas, let's say you're going to do the sauna in the morning, then I would say do your IGF-1 at night before bed. And it's a really cool way. The other peptide you can use is, because the mitochondria get really active when there's heat. The mitochondria is like the powerhouse of the cell. It's the engine. It heats up the engine of the cell, and then it's the mitochondria that triggers some of the release of these heat shock proteins. Well, one of the things you can do are the mitochondrial peptides, like MOTS-c or 5-amino-1-MQ or SS31, and these are all exercise mimetics, but they also couple really nicely with the sauna. Or if you don't have a sauna, then using some of these peptides, there's very similar benefits. And Cade, you've used MOTS-c. You've done at least a couple cycles of it.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
what's your experience using the MOTS-c? It's one of my favorites.
yeah. Biggest thing I've I've noticed is just energy levels are super consistent, even with less sleep. Like I can go 6 7 hours of sleep and really feel awesome. That's not my recommendation, but sometimes it just happens with young kids, and so my sleep does not disrupt my energy.
Cade, you can't use your kids as an excuse for everything, including that damn sweater you got on. That's
They made me wear it.
no, Motzi is. I wish I had that when my kids were young. I mean, it is. It's just like it's almost like it wipes things clean. Like you just feel like really like clean energy. It's like when you put good gasoline. Cade and I used to race motorcycles, and when you do
Yeah,
like that octane booster in the motorcycle, man, we're
get some
just on the
jet
track.
fuel in there.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Motzi does. So yeah, there's some great ways you can use these peptides to help actually increase what you're trying to accomplish by using the sauna as well. So, as always, we're looking for these little hacks, these bypasses that can really help improve health. And this is a great one. The other thing that happens is you get longevity benefits. So, I talked about that Finnish study. And in the Finnish study, what they found is that people who use saunas they live longer. And one of the reasons why is because it activates the mTOR pathway. And then the other thing is it inhibits the FOXXO activation, which inhibits muscle degradation. So, very impressive things. Some of the other things they found is heat exposure. It actually increases the lifespan of flies and worms up to 15%.
Wow.
So if you have worms as pets, then you can even bring these worms into the sauna with you and the flies.
That seems like a great study, especially for those worm and fly lovers out there. Like now we know how to expand their life.
I think it's beautiful. I think we're all let's all bring our pet worms. So don't let the robin get the worm when spring comes. You get the worms and bring it in. I want to see if this is
Or
true.
or maybe it just the worms can be around longer for the robin. There's a theory too.
You can feed the birds. There you go. I mean, we're solving a lot of environmental problems by bringing
Yes, we
worms in.
are.
Because
Just a
worms,
little bit of extra heat exposure to everyone.
imagine if we had 15% more worms, what that would do to the soil. Because I mean, they're replacing the bacteria in the soil, and with all
That's
the
actually a good
glyphosate,
point.
holy cow! I think Monsanto's is going to have a solution to their big L problem that they created years ago by spraying all of our soils with their lovely Roundup. So here we go. So, all
We
right.
got
So
this.
what you'll also find is that it protects your DNA. It inhibits the telomere shortening. So another peptide you can throw in here, for those of you taking notes, I know a lot of you doctors who are on this, you love your peptides. So one of the peptides you can throw in here is Epitalon. And I've been doing my 80-day Epitalon cycle. So Epitalon is, what you find is if you just do 2 cycles of Epitalon, these 80-day cycles, and ideally you want to do that one cycle a year, but if you at least do 2 cycles of this in your life, what they found is it will increase your lifespan by 7 years, because what Epitalon is it's a telomerase. So it works right on your pineal gland. So it resets your circadian rhythms. It gets you sleeping better. But then what you get on the backside of that is when you have increased telomeres, that's like tying your shoes tight. So in your DNA, you want your DNA to be silent so that you don't manifest and express diseases. And so if you have the telomeres, then it helps your DNA so that your DNA doesn't start to unravel. And so that's the benefit of having this telomerase. So,
Interesting. Yeah, so I just got my Epitalon.
okay.
Best time to take it at night after 90 days or 90 minutes post food. So you want to take it pretty much fasting. Is
Now, Epitalon, that's more the growth hormone secretagogues and the growth
and
hormone releasing
that's what I
peptide.
thought. It just on the label it said something about take it night 90 minutes after food. So I don't
And
have to be.
that would be whoever ordered it, it just populated it on the,
Got it. All right.
so, but
That's
yeah,
what I thought.
It does. It's not it's not necessary unless I'm mistaken, but I've never seen that anywhere. But yeah, all you need is just 0.10. You do 80 days straight,
Perfect.
and you're gonna be living a long time. So
Watch
yeah,
out, everybody.
watch out. Okay, if he can't squat 400 pounds now, we'll give him another 50 years to work on it. So.
There we go.
All right. So these are some of the things from Rhonda Patrick. So what she found is in the studies of 2,315 Finnish men between the ages of 42 and 60, they found that the association between sauna use and certain types of mortality, they found that deaths from cardiovascular disease was 50% less likely by the 20-year follow-up in men that use the sauna 4 to 7 times per week compared to those only using it once a week. 50%. You know, the number one killer in America is still cardiovascular disease. So think about how much a sauna, you can buy a sauna for maybe $3,000, $3,000, depending on where you get it, get a really good one. And you could, I mean, a heart attack, that's a $150,000 surgery just to crack open your heart. I mean, if your insurance picks up
5
80%,
times that.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
We should be buying everyone a sauna and being like, hey, you're going to pay out of pocket for your heart surgery, your cardiovascular surgery, because you didn't use your sauna. We have data right here because the sauna, gives us a notification every time you use it. I think that'd be a really cool. Obviously give a person a choice.
Yeah, we have some freedom of choice,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can do some socialized medicine. Could be everybody has a sauna.
Yeah, well, I was just saying if I was an insurance broker, I would say, look, Cade, I will cover you. I'll be your insurance. I'll carry your case, but I need some accountability that you're using this sauna, and I'm going to buy this for you up front.
Oh, that's
But
brilliant.
yeah, so I wouldn't have,
That's
I think
oh
the
yeah.
government getting involved would just burn the whole thing down. Sorry if you
Nice.
work for the government. That's just a little side note. We won't get into that, but no, I think you could have an arrangement with somebody and it would be really cool. So yeah, pretty amazing. So the other thing they
We got to
found,
pitch that to insurance companies. That's how they can save on their insurance costs.
yeah, I'm sure to be an easy sell. They'd be really open-minded.
Yes, especially yes.
Now, how open-minded are you to the fact that saunas could actually reduce the amount of heart disease based on the Finnish study? Huh? All right. So, yeah.
Sorry,
So
we got a little sarcasm and cynicism today, everybody, folks.
yeah. I think we're all fans of the government, but all right. So 40% reduction in mortality from all causes. This is huge. Here's some other things. Most saunas, they're averaging around 79 to 174 degrees Fahrenheit. Like the Russian bond. This is a Finnish study. I'd like to see the Russian study. It's like, look, there's still Russians who are like 150 who haven't died, and they just get in 220-degree weather, 220 degrees brick. Their brick saunas is what the Russians use, and they're wild. You also want to add a little humidity. That's what the Finnish do. So some water on rocks, and then the Finnish will go jump in the snow and into ice water too. So this is very interesting. These durations lasted up to and sometimes exceeded 20 minutes, but usually not
Wow.
more than 20. So yeah, pretty darn interesting.
Had a question come in from Tracy. What type of sauna is better, regular, so kind of the traditional or infrared?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Tracy, and I appreciate it. Man, I know there's the clear light sauna. If some of you have done the research on this, but you want to have a sauna that has very low EMF. So a lot of saunas have high levels of electromagnetic frequency, and so you get all this electrical discharge, and so I don't recommend those. And then you have the near infrared and the far infrared. And so there's different light spectrums that you can use, and you can even have those saunas that you can put on the color, which the photons that are released actually have an energetic change in your body as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. But I would, if you're following the Finnish study, you want to get the old types of saunas where you can actually put some water in it. If you're doing more of the light therapy in the sauna, you're not going to have humidity there. So you want to try and run some kind of humidifier if possible. Cool. Awesome. So what you'll find is when you're in the sauna, you can have an increase of your heart rate of up to 150 beats per minute. So, once again, check in with your heart rate, make sure things are staying stable. If it increases, that's normal. You'll have improvements in blood pressure, endothelial function, and ventricular function. So everything in your heart just starts working better with some heat exposure. And so once again, the reason why we need it is because our DNA are constantly mutating. They go through the variations of life. And so just by putting a little bit of heat shock protein activation, what you'll find is you'll have these reactive oxygen species. You'll find that the nitric oxide release starts reducing the damage of the DNA and the membranes to your lipids. So heat shock proteins are just really darn cool. So Cade, what do you think about, heat shock proteins? You've worked out, you live in St. George, so you get a lot of heat exposure down there in the summer.
Yeah.
And one thing I find interesting is when I go down there in the summer, nobody's outside past like 8 a.m, right? It's like you guys go through some hibernation for a couple of months. And that's one of the, I mean, you got the nice winter, but you have like a 2-month hibernation cycle.
Yeah, or you got to be by water.
Yeah. So Cade's got a boat and he goes out in the water, and that's one of the ways you manage it. But do you ever purposefully go out in the middle of the sun, like heat of the day, and just do a 20-minute workout out there in the sun?
I've ran in the sun, but never done like a really hard workout outside. No.
Yeah, it might be something interesting. I mean, just like even a 10-minute
I
workout.
get some cool gains.
Yeah, just with a kettlebell, that could be a real maximizer for you. The other thing is just adding in cold. You can work out in cold weather, and I have the benefits of doing that. And there's some benefits there. So hopefully today, if we go back to what we've learned, there's a lot of benefits that come from just a little bit of heat exposure. And these benefits go from longevity. You activate that FOXO3 gene, and this is a phenomenal thing. You activate heat shock proteins, and then some of the things you can start using is add more curcumin. That's a way of activating heat. You can eat spicy foods. That is a way of heating up the body. So there's just a lot of cool things you can do. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this today, and it gave you some insights that we're not just cold-hearted people. We actually do appreciate heat too.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about cold exposure lately, so it's good to get some heat in there.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. And one of the big announcements that we've got today is we are going to be launching our Thyroid Health Summit. Open enrollment starts in January. So January 3rd, be looking at your inbox. So we're going to kick it off February 1st, but we're going to have a whole brand new Thyroid Health Summit. And I want you guys involved in that. And, what we can take is we've got spots for about 50 people. And so would love to have you in there. 100-day fat burning challenge has been an incredible success. And so for those of you who are interested, let Cade or I know, or reach out to Ann. She's visiting family today, but we will certainly be getting that kicked off very soon. So looking forward to the new year. We've got some exciting things in store for you. So Cade, thanks. Have an awesome Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Okay.
Have a great one. We'll
Love
see
you
you
guys.
next week. Same time, same place.
Bye-bye.
All right.